Yogyakarta, or Jogja, is the capital city of the Special Region of Yogyakarta in Indonesia, in the south-central part of the island of Java. It's the only Indonesian royal city still ruled by a monarchy or sultan. So Jogja is regarded as an important centre for classical Javanese fine arts and culture such as ballet, batik, textiles, drama, literature, music, poetry, silvermaking, visual arts and wayang puppetry. Renowned as a centre of Indonesian education, Yogyakarta is home to a large student population and dozens of schools and universities, including Gajah University, the country's largest institute of higher education and one of the most prestigious. Yogyakarta is the capital of the Yogyakarta Sultanate and served as the Indonesian capital from 1946 to 48 during the Indonesian National Revolution, with Gedung Agung as the president's office. One of the districts in southeastern Yogyakarta is known as Kotegede, was the capital of the Mataram Sultanate between 1587 and 1613. Thus Kotegede is probably the oldest area of the city. Given Jogja's history and importance to the Javanese, even Indonesian culture, it's unsurprising it's the home for many ghost stories. Unlike the UK, such stories are believed to have a commercial benefit in encouraging tourism. The opposite is felt to be true in Indonesia. Indonesians are a superstitious nation, and that ghost stories abound is more a reflection of this superstition. However, I'm certainly not like most Westerners discounting all of this as superstition. Just because we've not experienced something is just that, not a condemnation of the mental state or intelligence of another. Let me be clear about my own experience. I've spoken and engaged with many entities whom I call ghosts, as I believe that our universe follows our beliefs rather than the obverse. This is more a testimony to my belief in ghosts than something which can be verified using the scientific method. And frankly, I don't care. Indeed, you will not see ghosts unless you have at least a residual belief in them. In my experience, ghosts are everywhere and most likely to be more common, to the point of being more in number than the living, in old cities where many people have died and been buried over the years. They also appear to be more common, or at least cited more commonly, in places associated with magic, especially black magic. What people often believe to be haunted places are places with an eerie quality, where they feel uneasy and thus they perceive the ghost to be malevolent. However, to those of us who regularly see ghosts, they're normally quite friendly, probably just like the humans that they were when they lived, neither good nor evil. Therefore, whilst Jogja has a reputation for ghosts, I feel very little malevolence when in Jogja, and find most paranormal encounters in the city to be rather pleasant. The Kraton, or Sultans Palace, was founded in 1755 by Prince Mangkumbumi, also known as Sultan Hamengkubuwono I. It is located in the centre of the city between the Winogo River and the Kotegede River. It's also said to be haunted. Although it looks beautiful at night, the stillness makes the buildings seem even scarier. Visitors should avoid wearing batik with a Garuda motif. Myth says that tourists who dare to break the taboo will suffer harm or disaster because the batik motif is the typical clothing of Sri Sultan Hamengkubuwono. A place that is considered haunted is the Bangsal Proboeska area behind Bangsa Kencono, which is used as a storage place for palace heirlooms. It's said that the place is guarded by spirits that resemble scary giants. And many report feeling ghosts who guard the Yogyakarta Handringat Palace. If there are visitors who have evil intentions while in the place, these invisible creatures can disturb the visitors. It's used as a place for storing heirlooms. It's believed to be the place is guarded by spirits that resemble scary giants. But there are no human beings who keep the place. Like in the West, old objects are believed to contain spirits, especially Chris, the ceremonial knife made from meteorite metal, of which there would be many in such a warehouse. Often people report apparitions of giant eyes. Certainly there is something powerful and auspicious about the Kraton, which is the spiritual home of my Gajawan beliefs. But I find the Kraton to be very benevolent. Indeed, when suffering from a black magic attack, if I visit the Kraton, the symptoms are removed, at least for a while. It was here that my wife was given a valuable painting by the Kraton Dukan of Nero Kidal's carriage, the Queen of the Southern Seas and the Sultan's consort. And later it was found to contain the spirit of Nero Kidal. Migrants to Jogja are said to hear the hooves of the horses pulling the carriage. Taman Sari Water Castle is also known as the Garden of the Sultanate and consists of several complexes combined into one. It's the traditional summer retreat for the Sultan and his family, although relatively close to the Kraton itself. Used by the Sultan to meditate, rest, work, and for the defence of the royal family, it has now fallen mostly into disrepair. Whilst I'm not aware of an actual ghost story related to the Taman Sari, it is associated with Nero Kidal and includes an area where the Sultan is said to have consorted with him. Maybe this is because Taman Sari is where he chose his consorts by throwing a rose into the pool. Benteng, or Fort Vredeburg, was built in 1760. The fort was used as a military bastion as well as places of detention for high-ranking VOC officials and Indonesian nobles who stood up against the Dutch. Once there was a painting exhibition event at the Jogja Arts Festival, but suddenly there were many Dutch soldiers who entered the place. This made the visitors and the guards of the event immediately leave the museum. In fact, many of the clips I use in this vlog are from the Art Jog Festival, but the more recent one at the Jogja National Museum. In addition to sighting Dutch soldiers, visitors are said to often see sightings of a Dutch woman with the lower half of the body in the shape of the horse. It also interferes with a Dutch Nona pedicab driver that hung in front of the fortress. The Potato House is right across from Stella Ducci Satu High School, Kota Baru. The house's architecture is from a past era and the house was empty for many years. And now the Kota Baru Potato House has changed its function as an office building of Bank BTN Syria. It's called the Potato House because people who pass the house smell a lot of potato aromas. The aroma of the potato itself is always identified with the appearance of Gondowaro, a black ghost I often associated with death, who are said to like crow satay and a sweet called dodo. But I've never heard of potatoes before. I have to say, despite my wife frequently seeing Gondowaro, I've never spotted one. There are residents who witness the appearance of Dutch Noni in the house and other supernatural creatures with forms that are difficult for human reason to understand. In addition, in the house there's also a small bell that often rings even though the house is empty. There have been rumours about a haunted house in Kota Gudeg for some time, Built in 1956, the house still stands. However, the walls of the house look black in parts, making the atmosphere even more eerie. Sightings include the appearance of a woman on the balcony of the second floor of the house, and the sound of knocking in the middle of the night that terrorised local residents. Also upside-down pochongs have been seen. Residents of Jogja, especially Jerome Benteng, were shocked by the mystery of the Biyung Tulung ghost. The myth is that this creature never appears, but often whispers in someone's ear, asking for help. Adu Biyung Tulung, O mother, help. The Pocong Sumini house, circa 1860, is located in Kementerian, Kotegede. Given my view on the prevalence of ghosts, it should come as no surprise that Kotegede has more than its fair share of ghost stories. There is an urban legend in this place that there was a tragedy which happened to a woman named Sumini in 1935. One day Sumini was home all alone because her husband, who worked as a batik entrepreneur, was away on business. Sumini's husband left a message for her not to open the door if someone knocked, because he saw Sumini's position at home alone, without anyone accompanying him. Unfortunately, their house became a target for a group of robbers. There were 3 robbers who came to the house at night when Sumini was at her home alone. By knocking at the door and bringing false news that Sumini's husband had had an accident. In a state of shock and panic, Sumini opened the door, ignoring the message her husband had given her shortly before he left her at home alone. When Sumini opened the door, she was immediately greeted by looting by the 3 robbers. According to the story, Sumini was raped and strangled to death by a robber. Since the incident, the house has been left empty, and according to local residents, the appearance of Sumini's Pocong, Sumini, appears every day at 10 o'clock at night. The Kanthil House is located not far from Pocong Sumini House, which is still in the Kotegede area. As the name suggests, the house has a kanthil tree, which was once growing there, so the house is considered sacred. Apart from that, the Kanthil House is said to have a ghostly guard. Gothic Church in Gondomanum was formerly the home of a Priayi, a noble person, as well as a batik factory. Being empty and not occupied for a long time, many mystical stories have emerged within the local community. In addition to its spooky exterior, this church also has an altar and an abandoned crypt and a statue of Jesus pointing towards the Kraton. According to local people, the building is owned by a Chinese descendant who has not been looked after. Mataram Empty Ditch House is located on the corner of Jalan Skolan, Mataram. The reason is it being uninhabited for many years, and many apparitions appeared around the house. There is a myth that says the house was a boarding house for girls, where many students from outside Jogja lived, before it was left empty for a long time. However, none of the boarding house's residents stayed long, because they had seen someone hanging themselves in that place. Due to this depression, shortly after catching his girlfriend cheating on him with another boarding house friend and getting pregnant, reportedly the spirit often terrorises other boarding house residents with soft cries every night and apparitions walking in the corridors. Alternately, he heard that his girlfriend had murdered a girl who kept a boutique not far from where the house is located. The figure of a white woman was seen floating in front of the house. Pasar or Market Beringharjo is located on Jalan Ahmad Yani number 1, Jogja. Was once a banyan forest until 1958 when the Gajah Yogyakarta Palace was founded. This area was used as a place for economic transactions for the local community. In 1925, a permanent building was built in this economic area and given the name Beringharjo by Hengkembuwono IX. Bering meaning a banyan tree, which is expected to provide harjo or prosperity. I'm sure that I've read about a ghost at the Pasar. Indeed, the upper floors, especially have at the rear and after dusk, have a very haunted feel about them. But all I can find now is a story of how young people dress up as ghosts, presumably looking for donations from tourists. Certainly there are many stalls which sell magical, especially Kajawan artifacts or jimat, which I may always make a point of making a purchase from. I guess this gives rise to these many stories. Outside of the market you will find my relative selling raffia animals to tourists. In fact, maybe you've bought some from her. The Menjangan or deer cage, commonly known as Panggungan Krapayak, has a scary story from a student who passed near the place. He saw the appearance of a woman in a hanging position with her back to the entrance of the building. You see, the Menjangan Cage used to be a forest for palace relatives who usually hunted. The scary incident began in 1613 when a palace relative was hunting and was rammed by a deer. So the incident, after this incident, one of the palace's relatives died. To honour one of the palace's relatives, this fort was built, which functioned as protection from haunted animals in this forest. In rural parts of Jogja, I believe Bantal, the Kotegede River is said to be inhabited by a massive colony of pochongs, numbering in their thousands. Pocong, or wrapped in a shroud, is a Javanese ghost, said to be the soul of a dead person trapped in the shroud. Known in Indonesia as kain kafan, the shroud is a prescribed length of cloth used in Muslim burials to wrap the body of the dead person. The dead body is covered in a white fabric, covered from head, over the head, and under the feet and the neck. The colony itself is led by a red pochong, whom is believed to have been an early 20th century Dukan Santet, a local shaman specialising in black magic. According to the story, the shaman's shady lifestyle and practices greatly disturbed the villagers living in the village. So much so that one day they decided they would not tolerate him any longer, and they hunted him down, murdered him in cold blood, mutilated his body. The body parts were later wrapped in a large white shroud, which later turned red because of the blood from the Dukan's body, and buried somewhere in a pine forest near the riverbank. In death, the shaman saw revenge on the villagers who'd slaughtered him in cold blood, and so the vengeful spirit, alongside thousands of Pocong he has recruited over the years, has been haunting the Kotegede River to this very day. At night, at the engineering roundabout of the University Gajah Madah, it's strictly forbidden to sing the Gunja Bunga, as warrior spirits will sing along with you, either with the smell of kemenyan, which is bezoin, an incense associated with the paranormal, or a strong smell of flowers. The Western Ring Road is very quiet at night, and I can attest to it, as I often use this route on night buses when I return home from Jakarta. The story begins with a student who was driving across the street at night. At the time, he experienced a strange incident, seeing a roll of woman's hair on the side of the road. Finally, the student stopped and saw that there actually was a woman squatting on the side of the road. At that moment, the woman disappeared from his sight. Other strange incidents occur on this road. Some people feel their car feels heavy, or they hear a woman crying on the side of the road. Previously, the Empire 21 cinema had a hero supermarket on the first floor, and on the top floor there was a cinema which had 8 studios. Alas, there is no hero supermarket left in Jogja, which was, well, not the main reason, but certainly one of the reasons we used to go there regularly. In 1999, this building experienced a fire, but there were no casualties. After several months, this place underwent improvements. But then the new Regent Cinema, which has 4 studios, experienced a fire and killed 15 people, 4 of whom could not be found. After the fire incident, strange things happened in this place. When the 4 studios are somewhat empty, they feel full. Even the seats you ordered will be occupied by spectators, who are none other than the 4 ghosts whose bodies were not found in this place. I've just realised that I know the cinema very well, as it's near an Indian restaurant I always used to eat at when in Jogja. Alas, the restaurant didn't make it through the health crisis, but the cinema did. Baringo Plaza is a mall in Jogja at Lakeside Adispakuto, Street 80, Depok District, and Sleman District. It was once a warehouse for the heirlooms of the Sultan. There are also orchards, stables and ponds that are considered sacred. Perhaps because it's built on this sacred area, there's some horror stories that often occur in this place. There was a ghost of a palace guard known as an Abdi Dalam from Plaza Rambarokmu, who would transform into the human and went into the toilet on the first floor, but never came out again. Then there was a worker who wanted to cut the grass in the place. Suddenly the grass couldn't be cut and the lawnmower stopped working. Even the worker was in a trance. Finally the machine and the place were given 7 kinds of flowers, and only after this could the grass be cut.